Baseball Theory Podcast, hosted by Jimmy Flame.
You're tuned to the Big Game James Show on iHeartRadio. And now your host, Mr. Big Game James, Jimmy Flame.
What's up, everybody? This is your host, Jimmy Flame, for the Big Game James Show, the Baseball Fury. There's a lot going on in the world of baseball, and we're going to talk about all of it. Coming right up. Stay tuned. Your headlines, well, there aren't any, really. As the free agent market is moving at a snail's pace. Actually slower than a snail, because nothing's really happened. However, it's reported that there's a small child, 22 months old, to be exact, that can hit home runs. And there's a very talented artist out there bringing old school baseball cards back to life. And that's seriously about it, folks. That's seriously about it. Unless you count the baseball agent that's been fired amid claims that he recorded players in the shower. We're not going to go there because the jury's still out on that one, and that's just a bad look no matter which way you look at it. So what are we even going to talk about today? Well, can't really talk about free agency because nothing's happened, as I said before. Nothing. I can't believe we're a month away from spring training, and we're not talking about all the blockbuster free agent deals that went down. And there's just none. There's just nothing really of note to report. Nothing crazy, anyway. So what's that leave us to discuss on today's program? I'm certainly not the only one who doesn't know what to do with their idle hands this offseason. Grant Brisbee over at SB Nation looked up every ERA in the history of baseball to find out which ones haven't even happened yet. It's actually a pretty funny article. You should check it out over at SB Nation. Grant Brisbee took hours upon hours to find out which ERAs haven't been accomplished yet. It's actually kind of funny, especially considering there's nothing else out there, really. There were some prospect breakdowns. Of course, the top 100 prospects is ranked by mlb.com by the team. You'll notice that the Marlins traded Giancarlo Stanton, and Marcell Ozuna this offseason, and yet the Marlins have zero top 100 prospects. Zero. Think about the players they got rid of. They should have got somebody out of it, right? And speaking of Marlins trades, another article that popped up at SB Nation looks at what the Braves could offer Christian Yelich and JT Realmuto. Now that Miami has realized they will be yelled at by everyone in the entire universe if they don't get something back other than bonuses for their investors. That's how slow it's been. Nothing. Just nothing. The ERA story is still probably the best one in the bunch. But I got a little angle going on here. And I'm pleased to announce that Major League Baseball has released game times for the 2018 schedule. Yeah! That's some good news right there. Now I can go through the whole O schedule and figure out which games I can or can't go to. But that's about it. That's really, in terms of major news, that's about it. unless you count the Mets and Bruce reuniting on a 3-year deal. But that's the Mets, and we'll see what the Mets do. Darvish has narrowed his list of suitors to 6 teams. And I'll just tell you right now, it's the Rangers, the Yanks, Cubs, Twins, Astros, and a mystery team, as reported by mlb.com. A secret mystery team. And Garrett Cole, trade rumors. Again, the Major League Baseball releasing game times for the 2018 schedule. You can find all that at mlb.com. There's an international series coming up in 2018 in May. And, of course, that's at mlb.com as well. And Joe Madden, just like every other manager in Major League Baseball, hinted that they have moves to make. But there's nothing of substance coming out. Just nothing. So we're going to get a little creative on today's show. It's going to be quicker than usual because I'm kind of throwing my hands up in the air today, and we'll try again tomorrow. But we're going to get a little creative today and talk about the things that matter, that really do matter. Put it this way, the news cycle is so slow in Major League Baseball. When you click on the news tab at mlb.com, it takes you to a page that says, this page is currently unavailable. Please try again. I tried it a few times just to make sure it wasn't my internet connection or a number of other factors, and it keeps doing it. I even tried it on my cell phone. It did it again, and hopefully this is temporary. Or maybe someone at mlb.com has a sense of humor and is doing this on purpose, but I laughed out loud it's just, that's how slow it is. Despite the slow news cycle, doesn't mean that there's nothing to talk about. As I came across an interesting article over at CBS Sports written by Jonah Carey on team rebuilding. And he coined it the tanking trend, or tanking. And he christens the Cubs and the Astros as the newest craze in baseball, as baseball is and always has been a copycat sport. You can go all the way back to Babe Ruth in the dead ball era, and how he single-handedly brought it down with a barrage of titanic home runs. Other teams weren't going to be left in the dust, and suddenly we saw the emergence of the power hitter. Jackie Robinson smashed the color barrier when he became a star for the Dodgers. Other teams began mining for talent. None of them wanted to be known as a team to take a stand against Major League Baseball's new anti-segregationist ways. Nobody wanted to be that person. So that just gives you a little bit of an illustration as to baseball trends. Not that any of that stuff was a trend, but teams just don't like being left behind when other teams start doing things. And now that the Cubs and the Astros have won World Series, after stripping apart their teams and rebuilding almost from the ground up, farming their way to the World Series, Jonah Carey would like for us to believe, reasonably, that other teams are going to follow suit. And it's funny because the picture at the top of the page is Manny Machado. Is he or is he not going to stay with the O's? Probably not. But his next 2 picks, and I agree. After reading this article, I kind of agree with this. It makes a lot of sense. The Phillies and the Padres, both who lost 96 and 91 games respectively in 2017, are eager to dig deep into their war chest to acquire brand name players. But the question is, Does that approach make any sense? For the Phillies, he goes on to say, this isn't a hypothetical scenario. Back in December, on December 15th, actually, they dealt veteran shortstop Freddie Galvis to San Diego for minor league pitcher Aniel De Los Santos. That meant the team's highest salary commitment for 2018 was Herrera, the talented and bargain price outfielder who makes $3.35 million next season. In fact, some of the Phillies' best players, including Aaron Nola and rookie sensation Rhys Hoskins, pardon me, will make about the league minimum in 2018. This looked like a team that was just bottoming out, ready to rebuild around all of its young talent. And also with the hopes of adding maybe some key veterans to the lineup to help round it out either this year or next as the younger part of the core starts to mature. It turns out that wasn't the plan at all. The day that the Phillies shipped Galvis out of town, they also ponied up for two veterans, two high-priced relievers, a two-time All-Star Pat Neshek and hard-throwing righty Tommy Hunter. Both of them instantly became the team's highest-paid players and will make a combined $16.75 million in the coming season. The coup de grace came 5 days later. Despite seemingly having their answer at first base for the next 6 years and being years away from challenging the National League's elite, the Phillies took the plunge on veteran slugger Carlos Santana, and the cost? $60 million. Just $60 million bucks. So it appears here that the Phillies are bucking that trend, actually. The Padres, well, just in terms of one player, I'll retract that last statement. The Padres are even thriftier. They're spending even less and further away from contention than the last place Phillies. Last year, the Padres rolled out the third lowest opening day payroll, and the club's only players who signed beyond 2018 are Clayton Richard and Will Myers, who's owed just $10 million combined over the next 2 seasons. Now, Myers' salary is going to balloon to $22.5 million in 2020. But the Padres, just like the Phillies, own a well-regarded farm system. But unlike the Phillies, San Diego's best prospects are likely light years away from challenging for big league gigs. Then the spending started. First, the Padres took Chase Headley off of the Yankees, took his $13 million salary away from the Yankees in a perplexing 3-player deal. A pair of low-cost 2-year deals for relief help followed. Now the Padres are reportedly going after Eric Hosmer. So as you can surmise, the Phillies and the Padres want to compete now or next year. Does that make any sense? Now or next year, not a few years down the road. But they're doing it smartly. Especially when you consider the Phillies are they're really the real competition that they have is the Nationals. The Nationals are still tops in the National League East. The Braves and of course the Marlins, by God, the Marlins. Marlins are definitely not competing with anyone next year. Just don't see it. I don't think anyone sees it. The Braves might give them some pains, and along with the Mets, but it's the Phillies who might sneak up on them and contend for the NL East. The Padres, on the other hand, have a little bit of a rocky road. It's not going to be smooth sailing for them. Their pitching lags well behind Phillies, for sure. Still, you could try to play devil's advocate a bit and include general manager A.J. Preller and Manuel Margot. They're both raw and excuse me, not the general manager, but Margot is a very skilled outfielder who could bat very well in just his second big league season. Same with Hunter Renfroe. But still, the play for Hosmer looks a little different than Philly scooping up Santana for two reasons. First, Hosmer's just 28. You know, he's got multiple prime years in front of him, even if his power isn't all that impressive for a first baseman. But again, you don't need super hitters these days. You just need good, decent hitting. And Hosmer's definitely going to bring that to him. And we've seen other rebuilding teams suddenly spend big money before, long before expected, that's for sure. I mean, back when the O's were supposedly rebuilding, and then they landed Adam Jones, and then Trumbo, and then Chris Davis, and yada, 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 and looked like they were real contenders until their pitching tanked. So perhaps this whole tank thing, there's something to it. It's not quite rebuilding, but you're definitely saving lots of money in the long run to win now. So, to Phillies and Padres fans, I say this. Don't despair. I think you're going to have an interesting season. I think you're going to have a really interesting season. And if the Phillies can hang, I mean, if they can win the games they currently on paper should win, they're going to hang with the Nats for quite a while. And just everyone knows that in baseball, anything can happen, especially late in the season. Anything can happen. We're talking major league players here, folks. They're not bad ball players. No one's really bad. I don't care what anyone says. Lots of sports pundits out there say someone's terrible or someone's this and that. No, they're major league ball players. Everyone is good to a point. And there's not that much of a difference between good, solid ball players and bona fide stars. You could add ticket sales to that as well. But not bad considering the news cycle's been atrociously slow. But that's what I got for you today, man. Is teams, lots of teams around the league doing this new version of rebuilding, spending a little money here and there, spending a lot here and there. Everybody wants to go for it this year. And the Phillies and Padres are no exception. So that's what I got for you today, ladies and gentlemen. This is the Big Game James Show, the Baseball Fury. I am Jimmy Flame, and I'll see you next time. Be sure to catch me on Facebook at Facebook, Jimmy Flame 77, on Twitter at Jimmy Flame 77, all over the web. Just Google my name, Daddy. And be sure to tell your friends that we are on iHeartRadio and everywhere that fine radio broadcasts are redistributed. So long, folks.